And welcome to another episode of the BCMA Show podcast. I'm your host, Jacob, and we are joined by a special guest today. He has been on the show before. Last time he was on the show was about beginning of the year, but today he's here talking a little bit about his new music and how his year's been so far. And please welcome Matt Caldwell.
Jacob, thanks for having me, man.
Man, I'm glad to have you back on the show, brother. Like I said, we talked last time, I want to say it was around February or a little after the holidays.
Yeah.
So, man,
it's been a crazy year.
Yeah, man, you've been busy. You've been busy this year. Of course, you know, last time we had brought you on was about your single Lights Out that was just, you know, doing extremely well and climbing our charts and everything. And we spoke a little bit about it. And I actually went back and listened to the archives, man. And you before I get into catching you in a little hiccup, the new album, okay, Likes of Me. You released it March 25th this year, 10-song album. Now, I went back and listened, and I remember you saying Lights Out was going to be the title track of this album. So what changed?
Yeah, you're right. Good. You caught that.
So what changed, man?
You know what? So March 25th was the original release date, and that's what it still says. But we didn't actually release it till last month. We released it in June. But it's so funny because I had it all up and ready to go. They never changed that date, and I didn't even realize that. So when it came out, they're like, "Oh, well, it's been March." Technically, it didn't even come out till June. But I think that Lights Out was it's one of the different songs. It might be the one song on the album that doesn't really fit. It's not as traditional as the rest of the album if you listen to it all the way through. But Highways and Honkeytonks is just what kind of pretty much explain this whole year and how it's been. You know, we've traveled up into the Midwest, to the East and West, and obviously all through Texas. So it's pretty much been the year, Highways and Honkeytonks. So I thought it better fit what our brand of music is and what we're doing.
Well, I'm glad you explained it, man, because I did catch that. I did catch that it didn't get released and all but I wanted to say it for the public because if they research, it does say that. But so now you hear the inside scoop from the man himself. And I did listen. I have listened to the record, man, every song, and it's a great record, really is. And like you said, Lights Out is kind of the one on there that isn't really as traditional as the rest, but man, it's a solid album, man.
Thanks, sir.
So tell me a little bit about the production of it. I mean, last time we talked, you had mentioned y'all had the album and y'all was getting together. How long did this one take to create, man?
Well, it was over a year of process. It's just like, I guess nowadays, and especially because we weren't doing an EP, we were doing a full album, we just wanted to take our time with it and figure out the best way to go about it. So it's about a year process. We'd cut 3 songs at a time and then try to figure out, what direction we wanted to go as far as the songs and writing, and just kind of fell into place, honestly. But I would say at least about a year, and then if you add the songwriting into it, probably 2 years. So, it's a process. But that being said, if you're happy with it, then it's a good process. And it's always fun to get in the studio and even the writing room to write and figure out what you're going to do. But Highways was written a long time ago, Highways and Honkeytonks. So that one's been around forever.
Yeah, man, and I'm going to jump into that full depth here in a bit. But before we jump into all that, as you mentioned, you released, which is sort of dying out today in music, in full-length albums. Everyone's usually releasing EPs or new singles because everybody, the world we live in is so fast-paced, man. But I respect and still love the artists that can put out full albums such as this one and just you could tell the time and the effort and stuff they put into it. And this one speaks volumes of that too, man. So what's your opinion on that process, how it's doing in the music industry, whether they put 3 or 4 song EPs out every 3 or 4 months?
You hit it on the head, Jacob. It's kind of a double-edged sword. 2 ways of looking at it. It is because of our, hey, we want it now, kind of the Netflix kind of situation where, a movie comes out, or not a movie, but like, for instance, Stranger Things. big thing right now. They watch the whole season in one night. Well, then you have to wait a whole other season. Instead of getting something over a week's, 1 week you get an episode, next week they stretch out over months. Everybody wants it now, and that's kind of where our business has gone because of, they found it to be more lucrative, at least the labels have, to put out 6-song EPs because the fans are ready for something new. And because there's so many artists now and there's so many things coming out, that's the only way to compete. I personally disagree, but it's actually something we're probably going to go back to an EP on the next one. It's cheaper for the artist, too. So from that standpoint, it makes more sense. You can go in and cut 3 songs and have them done, and then maybe cut 2 more, and then you have an EP, and then you can already start writing the next record. I'm already starting to write the next record. So we're already started to work on the next record. So it'll probably be an EP because it's less studio time, it's less writing time, and overall it's cheaper, because we're not really pushing CDs as much anymore. Where you used to order thousands of CDs, you might order 1,000. And, it's the Spotify, it's the stations like yours and the internet that really is driving our business anymore. So, it's a double-edged sword, but, to each his own. I think every artist has got their own idea of what they want to do and their own style,
Well, yeah, I'm glad you said that, man, because it is all about the business side of it, and, I don't want to get too deep into that, but I do respect, they still have some young cats out there, even in your area, one of the big ones, Caldwell, he's huge out there in Texas, and he waited a while just now to put out his new album, Harold Saw High, and there was some much anticipated wait for him, he could have put some EPs out and all that, but just to have, those guys like that still continuing to produce albums because full-length albums really are dying in the sense of everybody wants music now, and they want to hear 2 or 3 good songs and the rest filler and go with it. But that's what's great about genuine country music and genuine music and artists that aren't necessarily tied in with labels and such that can put it out. And like you said, for the listeners that don't know the background of the music industry, most of these guys and these artists, they've sung these songs for years, just putting them out. These songs, they have songs out. A perfect example for people is Luke Combs. He's huge right now. Luke Combs has songs that he's putting out that, now Beer Never Broke My Heart. That song has been out. He's had that one under his wraps for God knows how long. I remember watching him a few years back in concert, hearing it. So it's just all about timing, it seems, but I definitely love seeing the full-length albums because, man, I'm a music junkie. I like to put in, and we don't have CDs much anymore, but hit that album, hit shuffle, and just listen to the whole thing top to bottom and just, relive everything in the music.
No, great. Yeah, I think, and Cole's a great example. Cole Wetzel's new album is great. I got to listen. A buddy of ours actually runs merch for him, so he got the album a little bit before, and he played it for me. And I was like, Ragweed, good gosh. I was like, oh, that's going to be huge. And sure enough, it's destroying the charts. That being said, there's people, again, everybody's got the different personalities and what they like about music. And like you said, I don't want an album with a bunch of fillers on it. So I guess you run into that. You can put out 6 great songs as opposed to an album with, 3 great songs and 9 fillers, or, vice versa. So, again, it's to each his own, but the business is continually changing, and it's just you gotta grow with it. But if you can keep your audience on board long enough to wait for an album and anticipate it like Co did, and Parker McCollum, I think,
Yep, Parker's another one.
Chris
Colston, yeah, he's due for a big one too.
Yeah, and it's the thing, and the hardest part about that is it better be better than your last,
Yep.
And the question to that is, what's better? Well, it really depends on what your fans want to hear. So unfortunately for us, we might think it's better, but there's a fine line between that, because you don't want to get, and because I've always been a fan. I hated those artists that got so far away from what they did that made me love them.
Yep.
So you walk that fine line of, hey, I can get in there, like this song, these songs made me popular, but, you know, I'm different. You might be different than that, and you're like, okay, I want to cross a little over the popular side. You got to watch that, because if your fan base isn't that, then you run into that kind of situation. And, you know, I think with all of us, we try to walk the fine line. But I mean, for me, I just want to get country.
Exactly.
So I feel like for my brand, some of the stuff I did, like that's what I said, Lights Out, every now and again we just test the water. Lights Out was one of those tests, see how it does. Did okay. Didn't do like, it wasn't not anywhere near one of my top songs, but it was a real good song. I had a lot of people compliment it. Actually, more people have heard it now than they heard it when it was actually on the radio, you know, actually being just released. So it's one of those things where you just never know. So
yeah, and I mean, if for anybody listening, me and Matt get on here, we can talk all day about music, and I love it. And just one more reference, and we'll get back to your stuff, man. And like you mentioned about staying to yourself, and I think the biggest ambassador to that is my man Kojo. And you know, going to Nashville and signing with Warner or whatever it is, you know, the label that he got with, but staying to himself, not refusing to change, and to hear his, you know, On My Way to You on radio stations all over the country, it just does justice to, if you stick to yourself and create a fan base and don't change for the industry, eventually look at what he did. You know, the sky's the limit.
Two guys in particular that always come to mind. Well, three. And two are with the same management. And Cody, I've known him now since 2012, and he will never change. And that's the great thing about Cody. Cody's who he is. He said it from day one, and he's not going to change. Josh Ward is another. I remember when he had his last record out, he had a song he didn't really want to cut, and he still put on the album because it had a little bit too much, sounded a little too popular for him. But the lyric, I mean, I get what he was saying, but even then, it wasn't nowhere near, you know, what Nashville's doing. And then there's Randall King.
Man, you hit the nail, the trifecta on the head. Those three right there, man. That's those three are the same, man.
So I think that you know, they are proven that traditional country is alive. It's only growing because you can't get it just everywhere. And the thing about it is, it's not easy to be a traditional singer. I mean, that's it. You can't fake that. You know what I mean? And to do it right, you got to make it believable. And man, Cody, since the first time I ever saw him play, I was blown away. And same with Josh. I've grown to love Josh over the years since, you know, just doing writers things with him and stuff. We're on the same writers round or whatever, and everything in between. And Randall as well. I mean, yeah, you know, Randall opened. I didn't even realize it. Randall opened for me up in the Panhandle, and I didn't even realize he did. And he told me, he's like, man, I opened up for you, like, you know, 3 years ago down, you know, such and such. I was like, I had no clue.
Well, man, I can tell you from my perspective, Cody, I never got the opportunity to talk with him, you know, about interviewing or whatever, but basically knew everybody in his camp and heard nothing. And you can see Cody is a hard-working man. He's an honest man, just a good person, and works his ass off to get where he's at. Josh, I love Josh. He's a great guy. Sticks to his guns, like you said, and just and Randall is another one that's so intelligent, man. Randall's so intelligent when it comes to music, and just another great individual. So I think it speaks testaments, man, even to yourself and the whole industry down there, and all the independent artists around. If you are a good individual, a good person at heart, and you're just doing what you love and stay to what you love, and don't fall victim to the industry or to the world, you know, that's what the recipe is, man.
Yeah, no, agree 110%. It's just, I always tell everybody, I mean, at the end of the day, just be a good person. If you're a good person, good things will happen. You know, it's in the world that we live in anymore, it's hard to do that.
Yeah,
Too often, you can easily get drugged down and be something you're not. But as long as you stay true to yourself, and I'm out there, man, and all three of those guys are this exact same.
Yep.
Family, God, family, and love. Keep those things as, you know, and hard work. get those things perspectives, and only good things will happen.
And I want to say those guys are in the top 5 on Texas regional radio right now. I think Josh is at number 2. Devil Don't Scare Me, and I want to say Randall's in there up there with Taking Me a Heartbreak. So that just goes to show, man. But I want to say another guy we mentioned last time that we talked that's been tearing it up, man, and I think he's got a big potential. Tristan Merez, man, he's just putting out music nonstop.
Yep, man. He's another traditionalist. Got a great sound. I haven't done any shows or anything with him, but he's got it down. He's got a great fan base. I don't know I don't even know I'm not sure if he was on any show or whatever, but his fan base is like, as far as social media wise, he came out of nowhere. Someone just said something about him, and I saw him. I was like, and I started listening to his music, and I had no clue. And sure enough, I looked at his fan base. I was like, man, he's either been around a long time or he's on, on something. So I don't know if he did any of those things, but he's killing it.
Yep, definitely killing it and keeping that traditional sound alive, man. So it's hard to find cowboy music on mainstream. I ain't gonna lie to you, but when you want to talk about cowboy music, your newest single, which you mentioned was written before, and we're gonna get into that. Highways and Honkeytonks, man, that is a great song.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's so funny. It's kind of a true story now. Not when I wrote it, it wasn't. I mean, it was true, but it wasn't as true as it is now. I actually ended up marrying a girl that lived in San Antonio. So though it says in the song that I wasn't going to settle down, but I ended up my wife. She ended up getting her job down here in San Antonio. So now we live in the San Antonio area.
So you actually wrote this song?
Oh yeah.
So you wrote this one. Okay, so Justin McBride, PBR champ, 2-time world champ, he cut it in 2012 on his Everybody Loves a Cowboy. Wow.
He was my first. He was my first. Him and Granger were my first 2 cuts. But Justin, I'll never forget it. We cut it, and this actually was going to go on my Nashville record. And it was a song we were always excited about. And it was me, Blaine Larson, and my producer Wes Hightower that wrote it. And we were writing it on a boat dock. And we were talking about Texas and what I grew up on, and Wes is from Texas as well. And just it's for us, it's always been about highways and honky-tonks. And so we finished it. We thought it was a great song. And then one of our song players pitched it, and they said, "Hey, do you know a guy named Justin McBride?" I was like, "The bull rider?" And they're like, "Yes."
Do you know Justin McBride? Like, of course I do.
He wants to cut your song. I was like, "The bull rider?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "He sings?" And I had no clue. And he had already had, I think, 1 album out. Or maybe 2.
I had 2. Yeah, that was actually on his last one, 2012.
And he said, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, heck yeah!" So I was super excited about it. And obviously it was a big thing because it was one of my first cuts, period, as a songwriter. But to have a guy like him cut it, I still yet to meet him. I've been in the room with him, but I never got he was talking, I was talking, never got to actually go, "Hey man, I wrote your song Highways and Honkeytonks." But one of these days I get to meet him. Heard nothing but great things about him. So, but yeah, it's a pretty cool story, man. And that was one thing that I was telling Jen about. It's like, man, you got to tell this because there's so many cowboys out there that will know this song already because of them. And it's just a cool story, in general.
Oh yeah, and man, that's the thing about in the cowboy world and rodeo and a lot of these rodeo guys. One of the young guys from Louisiana that's been blowing up, and that's Caden Gilliard, man. And he used to ride not PBR, but he was riding PRCA and stuff. And he's actually he ended up getting injured and started writing and stuff. And I was talking to people in Montana, and they were like, "Man, we know him. He's listen to his YouTube stuff and all." And he's like, "Man, I have a lot of fans from the rodeo stuff that don't really know." So this is an awesome story. As soon as I heard the song, I said, "I've heard this before." And I went back and looked, and I was like, "Wow!" I did not know that you wrote it though, so that's a pretty awesome thing to hear, man.
Yeah, I wrote it. I wrote that whole record. So everything on the records, I wrote them all.
Well, man, you didn't get like a gold buckle or anything out of that. Like, "Hey, man, I wrote."
Right? That's right. It's so funny. If you get anything like I wrote the Country Boy song, and I got a gold plaque from Granger for 500,000 sales on that song. But outside of that, that's the only thing I've ever gotten from anybody. But he would, it's cool. It's cool if you get something like that, but that's up to the artist to, if I get a number one and anybody wrote the song with me, I'm going to buy them either a plaque. I'll buy them something to commemorate it going number one or X amount of sales. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So,
well, at least
your kids in the background because I got my little girls today.
Hey, it's all good, man.
At a water park.
It's all good, man. It's all family. Speaking of, did y'all have a good 4th of July?
We did. Actually, it's funny. Me and my wife went downtown Austin, and we just had drinks because we just chaotic, and we got a 4-month-old at home, so we have not been able to really have any date nights. So we took the time to do that, and then I had another show on the 6th, big private event, but a lot of it was family that were going to be there. So they all got to come out. So I got to spend time with my cousin and stuff, and my other girl, who's 7 now, she got to come out. So it was good. We had a good time with good old redneck, shooting skeet and Telluride, just blowing stuff up the way Texans do.
America. That's what it's all about.
America. Yeah, amen.
Well, before we get too deep in it, man, we have the song Highways and Honkeytonks. I'm going to play it for everybody. I'll let you introduce it, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more.
All right, sounds good, man.
All right, I'll let you go ahead and introduce it for us, man.
Highways and honky-tonks always keep me moving on from town to town, singing these lonely songs. I started out in Nevada, worked my way down to Laredo, met a pretty girl just south of San Antonio. She wanted me to stay in town, start a family, settle down. But this old road will always be my home. Highways and honky-tonks always keep me moving on from town to town, singing these lonely songs. But the good times help me forget all the mistakes and regrets. It's who I am and all I'll ever want. Highways and honky-tonks. It's neon lights and a rocking band, tight blue jeans, cold beer in my hand, that keep me coming back night after night. Good-looking women on the sawdust floor, seeing old friends couldn't ask for more. This nightlife ain't no high life, but it's mine. Highways and honky-tonks always keep me moving on from town to town, singing these lonely songs. But the good times help me forget all the mistakes and regrets. It's who I am and all I'll ever want. Highways and honky-tonks. Highways and honky-tonks always keep me moving on from town to town, singing these lonely songs. But the good times help me forget all the mistakes and regrets. It's who I am and all I'll ever want. Highways, highways, highways and honky-tonks, yeah. Honky-tonks.
and that's the latest one from Matt Caldwell, Highways and Honkeytonks. A song he wrote for, no big deal, Justin McBride that, won the PBR world title 2 times, Cowboy. But this one's on his new record that is Likes of Me. And is this the newest single that you got putting out on radio?
Yeah, this is actually just came out last week. So, man, this is fresh. We're fresh on it. So, yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's up-tempo, and that's exactly what radio wanted. They wanted something fast and up-tempo, and that's what we came out with.
Well, man, I think it's going to do great on Texas radio in general, man, especially hitting all those rodeo fans and that honky-tonk. I mean, it just screams good Texas cowboy country.
Hey, man, like I said, I'm excited about it, and, everybody that started, we played it for years. It's always been a staple in our show, because, again, it's just the true of what we do as artists. It's nothing but highways and honky-tonks for us, so it's pretty cool to be able to write a song like that and then obviously have Mr. McBride cut it.
Well, man, let's get into the actual album itself, the 10-song album. Is there a particular song off the album that is your personal favorite or one that you just hold a little bit closer to your heart?
There's 2. For sure, Everybody Loves Me. Everybody Loves Me was written from the artist's standpoint. And I was single when I wrote this. I wrote this with Chuck Jones and Wes, my producer as well. And we were just talking about, it's funny, the music business is plays a lot like this. It's, because you're in the music business, it's hard to, stay with anybody. I mean, commitment is just, it's one of those things where it's going to work both ways. And just because you're an artist and you're committed doesn't mean that the other person, whether it be a guy or girl, if you're a girl dating a guy and vice versa, being an artist, they just can't always handle it. And it's so that's kind of where it came from. It's like, everybody loves me for a little while. And it's kind of like your music, too. Everybody loves you for a little while. They can come and go. So that really took home. And it's funny because I sent it out, everything came out, and a bunch of my buddies who got the record, and they're like, oh my gosh, everybody loves me. Sarah Hobbs is one of them. She was freaking out, and she was texting me, just going on and on. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's like every artist's song. Because I feel like it's so hard to keep relationships in the business we do, because you're not home. You're always having people, want to take pictures, this and that. And sometimes it can be misconstrued, and it starts an argument if you're not in a good spot, in your relationship. And they're feeling lonely, and you're always having a good time. It's a tough life that we live, but, at the same time, we wouldn't change for the world. But that was the one, and then the other one was Some Kind of Woman.
Yep.
And this is the other error.
I love that. I love that one, man.
They spelled woman wrong. It should be WOMAN.
Yeah.
And no one caught it till after. So I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So it's kind of a funny thing. But that one's kind of written on the same terms. I wrote this with Don Poitras, and Win Barble, 2 phenomenal writers. And I was talking to Win, again, same thing, about being on the road and how his wife handled girls coming up to him and how they can be very promiscuous at times. And I always say that, if I had $1 for every time a girl grabbed me somewhere inappropriate during pictures or whatever, and, it's just with all these things in society as today, goodness gracious, if I ever complained about that, just the stress I would be under on everybody would be all over me. But the point was that, everybody automatically thinks just because you're an artist, you're going to go home with them. And though it's something you always want to flirt, that's a part of what we do. But, I just wanted a message to, hey, at the end of the day, I might flirt with you when I'm on stage. When I'm going home, no matter how pretty you are, I'm going home to my wife. And that's kind of what the song's about. And it's it's a true testament to marriage, true testament to being in love with your spouse, and being a family man. And that's.
But yeah, man, I really love that song and that story behind it. It reminded me so much of the song Jamie Johnson put out a while back, "She's All Lady." Telling the story about life on the road and these women come at you, but it takes a strong woman and a strong, marriage and strong relationship to be with an artist or a rodeo man or an athlete.
Oh, you know what? That's a great point too. It's the exact same thing as being in a rodeo. There's no difference. I mean, or anybody that does business and travels a lot. It's a tough grind to be, and when anytime we get accolades or anything, it's those women that stay home, or some of them stay home, some go to work. But it's when they keep the house going while you're not there. And I think that's, even when you get a Father's Day, you got to give the women a Father's Day too as well, because they're the mother and the father from that standpoint. Because when you're not there, they're having to do them both, and there's so much you can't do when you're away that they have to take care of when you're gone. So yeah, it was just I think anybody that does rodeo or music or travels can relate to, and I feel like our wives need to know it.
Oh yeah, definitely, and it's a great song, great album, man. And I'm looking for the Highways and Honkeytonks, man. I debuted 4 songs this past week on our chart, and we mentioned Cole earlier. Cole just got, annihilated he debuted at number 5 on the chart with his ridiculous stream amounts for ragweed. But man, yours is debuted right now at number 38 with Highways and Honkeytonks, and I mean those streams are gonna go up, man, because I think it's just gonna be a song that once it gets on, Texas radio gets out there and a lot of people hear it and relate it to, whether it be Justin or whatever, rodeo, whatever, I think it has the potential, man. I really do.
I appreciate it, Jake. Really do, man.
Yes, sir. And that's really why I wanted to bring you on, man, because it's such an interesting story behind the song, and then now behind the album, and I did my research and listened in on the last one. And I wanted to make sure, everybody got the truth of it.
No, that was great. I mean, you're the only one that's caught that. That's so funny. Because, I mentioned that multiple, obviously I did the radio tour for the last single, and that came up multiple times. Yeah, you're the only one that actually caught that it didn't come out as Lights Out. It came out as Likes of Me. I said Highways earlier, but it came out as Likes of Me, which I thought it was, more fitting for the album than Lights Out. So, yeah. It's great stuff, man. Yeah,
well, the difference between me and most, man, is I do this as a fan, as a lover of the music, and as a lover of you guys. As the artists I interview, man, I always like to stay in touch and just, but yeah, that I guess that kind of separates my researching and all that, because I call it research, but it's just me listening all the time, nonstop, trying to put out the best product we can for the listeners to get you guys the recognition y'all deserve, man.
Well, we appreciate it, man. Like I said, it's any way we can get our music out is what we have to do, and we appreciate guys like you doing it.
Definitely, man. So you mentioned, obviously you're on the road all the time. Right now you're enjoying some time off, but you got some upcoming shows, man. I did a little on your website, Matt Caldwell. Is it Matt Caldwell Music or MattCaldwell.com?
MattCaldwell.com.
.com.
Yeah, I actually got the .com.
There you go. And I see July 31st you're playing Summer Series at the Good Company Armadillo Pavilion in Houston.
Yep, we're doing that. We're going to be headlining that show. We got there's like 4 different artists who are going to be opening for us. I know Gary Kyle, a good buddy of mine, is going to be right before us. But their big summer series, they just started that this year. So, yeah, we got that coming up. We got Caldwell, which is right outside of Manhattan, Kansas. That's a big festival. We're headlining that one. And we're also got, you got about 6 or 7 more dates that aren't even up here in the next month and a half. We try to add them slowly. Don't over.
Yeah.
Because you only see so much, and most people don't go far enough down, and then we just post as they get closer to. But some people like to just throw them all up there, but we're kind of taking a different approach to it.
Yeah. Well, the ones I've seen, obviously the 17th, you got the Beer by the Bay, the Horseshoe Bay Resort, which is a great place down there in Horseshoe, Texas, and then Nash Bash at the Stampede Saloon in Fort Worth. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's Nash. He's raising money for his foundation, and we're going to be, I think he's got 30-something artists. So they're going to be playing it. Me and Mr. Hadcock are going to be one of the rounds.
Hayden?
Kind of the songwriter thing. Yep, Hayden. Hayden's going to be playing with me in our round. and I've yet to meet him, but he's obviously with Jen too, and I've heard a lot of his music. Really dig what he's doing. So, yeah, man, that's it. We're just trying to keep it going and keep it steady. Like I said, the Beer by the Bay. That's me, Zane Williams, Leanne Rhymes, and then the night before that's Roger Kreger, and I don't know who all is on the other show, but that'll be a good night for all of us on that Saturday. And then, like I said, we got a whole bunch of stuff we got to add. I've been in dad mode the last week and a half, so got to get back to working.
Hey, man,
I'm clean.
There ain't nothing wrong with being in dad mode. Take some time with the babies, man. That you got to do it.
Amen.
You got to do
Amen.
it. But yeah, everybody can check out your website at mattcaldwell.com and check out some of the shows you got posted, your music.
Yeah.
Dude, the one I love, the shop. Okay, it says coming soon, but some of the merch you got, man.
Is that not great? What's your favorite shirt?
Probably, IPA lot when I'm drinking, or when I drink. That's a good one.
Drink that.
Keep calm and drink another. They got one with a guy funneling that says champion underneath. It's
funny. I try to make merch that people want to wear. Sometimes I don't want it to be. It is about us as artists, and Drink Another was one of my biggest songs I had, and up to this point, it's one of the things there's so much merch you can do with Drink Another. But like the Dunkin' Donuts, we changed it to Drunken Grown-Ups.
Yeah.
And I've actually got a bunch already pre-ordered for that one. I probably already sold.
I probably would change mine now to you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning.
I've already got it. That's the only. I'll text you when we get off. I've got all the t-shirt and all that already drawn up. It's just a matter of, like I said, we try to add like once a month, add something new, and because it becomes a lot, when you're doing so much merch. I can't do what Granger and all them do. So we just try to get about, at a show, we want to have at least six or seven different t-shirts, and then a bunch of different koozies. I got a new camo koozie coming out. I'm hunting for a beer.
There you go.
And on the back of it says just add beer.
Man, you need to come up with one for Highways and Honkeytonks. Maybe a little Justin McBride on a bull or something, huh?
Okay, you get kudos for that. That's a great idea.
I want the first one though. Just
You got it. Okay, that's a great idea. Interesting. I have to reach out to his people and see what they say about that. That'd be a cool thing.
Oh yeah. And then you could do some where you get him to sign a few and you sign some and auction them off or sell them, man.
That's even better. Look at you, Jacob.
I'll be honest. I'm a businessman and I could do this for a living, but I'm just trying to help you out, buddy.
I appreciate that. Actually, that'd be great. That'd be great to auction off at charity events too.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I do. Maybe I just make 10 of them, send them to him, have him sign them, tell them they're going to be for an auction thing. I'll have to reach out to his fan club or his people, see if we can't come to something. Because he might already have a Highways and Honkeytonks t-shirt made. Maybe we can just have him donate them and do that too.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I like it.
We'll talk more after the interview and get in on the details. I can help you fill in on that. But that was just an idea, man. Merch. I always say, support independent artists and up-and-coming artists, and even artists such as yourself. You're not up-and-coming, man. You've been in the scene. But that merch is what helps fund all this music and stuff, because it ain't free, and it takes time and all that. So definitely go out, and if you have not already checked out Matt's newest album, Likes of Me, do that now. You could also check out Highways and Honkeytonks, which is on our BCMA Top 40 playlist, and it's also on Spotify and all that. And man, it's just been a great time. I always have a pleasure when we get on the phone together. We can talk forever about the industry and everything, man. It's just an awesome time talking with you.
Thank you, Jacob. I really do appreciate you taking the time, man.
All right, Matt. Well, you go have a good one with your family out there, and try to stay cool.
Will do, man. Will do. Do your thing.
All right, man. Thank you. This episode of the Bayou Country Music Association Show podcast is brought to you by ProCountryMusic.com, Southern Sound Outfitters, Swamp Assassin, Cottonmouth Boats, Blue Otter Polarized Sunglasses, Dammit Boy Products, Bulls, Bands, and Barrels, Generate Promotions, Trig 44 Entertainment, and Blue Lark Entertainment. For more information on how to be a part of the BCMA show or sponsor it, please visit our website at BayouCountryMusicAssociation.com.